unable to do it.
It's Yuri Mildzikhov against Joe Charles. Yuri Mildzikhov.
Well-experienced fighter. Coming here, these guys are similar size, similar weight. Should be a very evenly matched fight. Joe Charles continues to fight tough everywhere he goes. Fought in some of the toughest Russians in the world, and really everybody. They always put Joe Charles in with the tough guys, and he always puts up a great fight. Says this trip is his. Let's see.
Well, you know, we saw Joe in Moscow, and he wasn't in very good shape. He said he has trained very, very hard. This is 6 months, you know, in the last 6 months to get ready for this fight. He was impressive in Moscow until he ran out of gas late and about there. So it'll be interesting to see if he has it, what it takes to get through this Russian tonight.
Yeah, he's definitely trained harder. He's worked a lot in his submission skills. Mostly jiu-jitsu. He trains with a lot of jiu-jitsu fighters, a lot of grapplers. He's good with leg locks, knee locks, ankle locks, chokes, arm bars. He is a finisher as well as being a great judo fighter. He's a great fighter. If he comes in well-conditioned, he could win this tournament.
Yeah, he looks much better here at AFC 3 than he did at AFC 2. Much better shape. He's a little thinner. I don't think he'll ever be accused of being medium belt, but look at the agility and the flexing. This guy is he's a great athlete.
Yeah, Joe's a lot of fun, a real crowd pleaser. People love him everywhere he goes. He's a real party guy. He also just flew over with us. It'll see. We saw it didn't affect Nick Nutter. He came out very impressive. Let's see how it affects Joe Charles.
Charles looks a lot better, doesn't he, than he did in Moscow?
Yeah, he's a big guy. He carries a lot of weight, but he carries it very well. He's an older guy, one of the oldest guys in the tournament here. He's 39 years old. Been fighting for over 25 years. Grew up on the mean streets of South Central Los Angeles. Decided to put his efforts in a positive way, put him in the ring, and he helps children with computers and stuff. He's a really good guy, Joe Charles.
Call him a role model, ladies and gentlemen, and watch Joe coming out through a right hand that connects.
Two big boys.
Boy, the Russian shoots. Yuri shoots and gets Charles down.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler, this Russian. He's got some sambo experience. He's a wrestler, and he was able to take Joe Charles to the ground.
Tries a few headbutts early on. Second one landed, the first one missed.
Two big boys in the ring right there. Very evenly matched size-wise. Russia against America.
Russian up top now. Getting a little distance, Greg. Throwing some very effective strikes.
Joe Charles trying to do some of those throws with the legs. He'll try and flip his opponent over. But again, this is a well-experienced grappler. You can see him keeping the wide base like wrestlers do. He'll keep those legs sprawled out, which makes it very difficult for the man on the bottom.
And you look at those legs, they are humongous.
Huge, huge. Like most wrestlers, again, these guys train extremely hard with their legs. A lot of effort on the legs. A lot about controlling your opponent like he's doing here. This guy could sit there forever.
That one hurt from here. Good right hand to the midsection of Charles. Yuri Mildzikhov of Russia against the American Joe Charles on the bottom.
Yeah, the only problem for Yuri could be is Joe Charles can take a punch. So even though you can control him, you're not going to knock him out. You need to finish this guy. Again, last time we saw Joe Charles fight, he lost only due to his stamina. The Russian now looking for a leg lock.
It's going to be tough to lock it in from up like that. That's almost impossible. As Joe Charles strikes back, now the Russian.
He's possibly in a double leg position here to get a leg lock. But Joe very versed in the leg locks. He knows that extremely well. I don't expect that to be his...
That would have surprised you.
Yeah, it really would. Joe's an experienced grappler. Again, like we said, he's been fighting in the ring and all over the streets for many, many years. There's pretty much nothing Joe Charles hasn't seen.
All right, well, he's got his hands full of one Yuri, a very big Russian right now, who continues to maintain a dominant position on top, although he is in the guard.
Yeah, you can see Yuri fights very much like Nick Nutter. Gain control, push your opponent around the ring, and punch him. The problem is he's fighting a very tough Joe Charles, who's very strong himself and very experienced.
And again, Charles
nice shots
counters.
By Charles.
Yeah, he counters with a left and a right.
Counters and then pulls his opponent in. Just what he wanted to do there. You strike and then bring him down so you don't take the big shots.
Charles softening up the side of Yuri's head with a couple of rabbit punches.
Those are allowed.
Yep. You just can't hold on to that cage right there. I saw you hanging on that cage.
Yeah, you do what you got to do in no holds bar, baby.
These are the toughest men in the world. You're watching a quarterfinal matchup between Joe Charles and Yuri Mildzikhov of Russia here in Tel Aviv.
A lot of people watching this for the first time, maybe trying to figure out what's going on, but in no holds bar style fighting, probably 80 to 90% of the time, if not more, you're going to end up on the ground. Joe Charles looking for an armbar. The Russian too strong, slips out of it. Joe, the guy, Russian, Yuri, almost left an arm behind. Joe, well-versed on the ground, saw an opportunity. The Russian, too strong, slips out.
How many realistic chances would you say in a 30-minute time limit fight do you have an opportunity to lock in an arm bar or an ankle lock? Not very many of them.
No, actually, very often you do. It depends how good your skills are. If you train that way, it happens probably every minute or so. You have to be able to look for those opportunities and also drive your opponent into a situation where he leaves an arm behind. If you can control the fight, your opponent will constantly do it.
Again, a split-second decision when you decide to do that, because often the consequences aren't very good because of something else that the opponent does to ward off that attempt.
Yeah, it clearly has to be a reactionary that you just don't think. You just have to react as soon as it happens, see the opportunity. If you have to think about it, you're not going to be able to complete the hold.
Now, Joe Charles right now thinking about, how can I get this big guy off of me?
Yeah, this is a familiar position for him, having big, strong guys on top of him. He's got a lot of heart. He'll continue to fight. But how he can finish this guy, he's going to need to look for a finishing hold. Hopefully for him, the Russian will get tired. And you can see the Russian just really lying on him, resting. Both fighters really taking a little breather right now.
Right, and the crowd is also taking a breather. They're just kind of hanging back, and you can hear the cornermen as both fighters, as Gregory Friedman just pointed out, take a blow.
There's a lot of thinking going in there. What do we do? We've tried what we've been trained. Now we're going on instinct.
And again, you've got to wonder, as we said at the outset, we arrived here within the last 2 hours now and came directly from the airport to this venue for these fights after about a 12-hour plane trip.
Yeah, it's a very difficult flight over, and security, as everyone can imagine, is very difficult here in Israel, so it wasn't easy getting through customs as well, especially bringing in fighters like we did from America, all different backgrounds and such.
Yeah, we got some funny looks, didn't we?
Yeah, we were quite an interesting group here in Israel, that's for sure.
All right, well, Joe Charles on the bottom continues to try and figure out how to get Yuri off of him, or at least to counter what he is trying to do there. Both fighters have actually taken quite a break here.
Yeah, nice right hand there by Charles, slipping up and over the right. He needs to get active from the bottom here. You can see he's controlling Yuri from the bottom. He's holding the arms underneath, and he's holding the legs with his legs. So what Yuri should be trying to do is trying to get out of that guard. He's kind of in an open guard here, if you will, where the legs are sitting back. If he was a closed guard or a full guard, he would completely wrap those legs around Yuri. But Yuri, not anxious to move to the side or move to the full mount, really content himself, thinking he's winning and just lying on top. Again, both fighters very tired at this point.
How long will the referee let this particular activity go on, which is very little?
Yeah, well, a lot of times, as we've seen in the past, if there's not a lot of action going on, they'll bring them back to their feet, which frankly I'd like to see at this point. They pretty much really let them go here in Israel.
It's very interesting, too, the difference. I'm watching the Russian, and then I watch a jiu-jitsu guy. In the same situation, the jiu-jitsu guy is doing something all of the time.
Yes, he's really keeping active because he's looking for finishing holds. Remember, an American or a Russian or any real good wrestler who's trained wrestling his whole life, their job is to control their opponent. Simply control your opponent and stack up points. Yuri is doing that, but in no holds bar, we need a finish. And that's, again, why the jiu-jitsu fighters have been dominant in the sport of no holds bar. They can finish a fight.
Well, we'll see if Joe Charles and Yuri see who can finish this fight. Charles now starting to open up a little bit.
Yeah,
throws
nice
some
shots.
repeated right hands to the side of the face of Yuri Mildzikhov from Russia.
Yeah, Joe able to get just as much rest on the bottom. You just have to be quick, so when your opponent reacts to punch, you react. But as you can see, Yuri's got his hands wrapped around, so Joe will have plenty of time, as you saw right there. When Yuri sits up, Joe sits up.
Yuri finally, first offensive move I see from him in a long time. He came up with a headbutt that comes up short. He tries another one. Joe just pulls him right back into his chest, Joe Charles does.
Yeah, Joe just doesn't want the Russian to sit up and punch him. Nice elbow there by Joe Charles. Joe keeping very active, and actually his strikes look very sharp.
Really do at this point, and the Russian virtually no answers from him.
Yeah, Joe seems right in this fight, definitely the better, well-conditioned fighter, the more active. The Russian, again, controlling from the top, being able to lie there, but not doing anything with it. Joe really getting the best of the fight the last couple minutes.
Joe taking some very deep breaths as he tries to mount another attack. Throws a little short left, a little short right. Both do very little damage, if any at all. Charles comes back, though, with another left hand.
Yeah, it's hard to get a lot of punching leverage from the ground. That's why punchers generally prefer to stand up. They can put their whole body into the punch. They can lean their whole shoulder, their whole hip. That's how you punch a fighter. And when you're on the ground, you can see he can't bring his arms all the way back. It's just like a quick, short, maybe a 6-inch punch, and you can't get that much power on it. Luckily for Yuri.
Here we go. Joe Charles again doing, if there's been any offense at all, it's come from Joe Charles as he throws an elbow, nice elbow to the cheek of Yuri.
He's actually in a very good position, is Joe Charles. You'll see those legs. He'll try and keep the Russian fighter down as low as he can. He really wants to keep him actually right about at his belly button. At that point, he can really strike with the elbows and the hooks, and he throws a mean right hook.
And it's very tough to headbutt from that position for the Russian.
Yep.
He really has to cover a lot of ground.
Exactly. You'll see Joe kind of pushing him down. He'll pull and push. He'll push from with the hands and pull down with the legs and try and squirrel up and keep his opponent low. The lower he can keep him, the better chance he has to strike and to possibly get out of this position.
What would you think at this point would Charles like to do if he could possibly do it?
I don't think he would mind getting back on his feet. However, he's getting the better shots in here right now, and he's not taking any punishments. So this is actually a very good position for him. Nice move by Charles.
Russian going to try and lock in the ankle lock.
Wow, he's got that foot. He's got that leg.
He sure does. Charles, though, works his way back up. The Russian, though, has it locked in pretty well.
Yeah, he does.
Charles is desperate, ladies and gentlemen. He's trying to counter with himself. Another ankle lock. Both men are trying to. This is a test of will.
Oh, Joe Charles he needs to get that a little deeper.
The Russian taps out.
I'm not sure which one tapped it out.
Joe Charles gave the Russian some of his own medicine. I saw the Russian.
Beautiful job by Joe Charles. Joe Charles, an experienced guy on the ground, a great grappler, really good with the ankle locks. Look at it here. He knew how to defend against it, which is to straighten your leg, and he got the heel. You can see that heel, which is the best position there. He's got perfect form with the hands, bent that ankle. The Russian has no alternative but to tap out. A beautiful showing by Joe Charles.
Boy, it was very, very impressive by the American. Again, AFC 2, he wasn't in great shape. AFC 3, he looks in much better shape. It pays off here. Jet lag, no problem for Joe Charles as he advances, and he will go now to the semifinals.
Yeah.